Two Rwandan children reported a vision of the Virgin Mary and the infant Jesus. Will this become the second recognized apparition of its kind in Africa? The Pentagon purchases a device that may explain Havana Syndrome cases. What have we learned from their investigation? I'm Chris Daly, and I'm here with Ryan Geckner.
Mysterious hums, bangs, and flashes are plaguing communities in Connecticut and Pennsylvania. How are they impacting residents? And how should the banking system prepare for disclosure? This is Headlines from the Beyond.
All right, so we have more stories today than we usually do because so much is happening. I'm amazed at how many different things are happening out in the paranormal world.
Yeah.
Just the whole world is paranormal right now.
That could be. Could be.
Okay, so this Marian apparition is in the Musanze District in Rwanda, and apparently two 10-year-old children saw an apparition of the Virgin Mary holding an infant Jesus, and it was first on a utility pole and then in a nearby tree. Which, okay, that's a little weird to me. Why is Mary hanging out in the tree?
Yeah.
But fine. I mean, the apparitions that have been out there have always been different.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
So district officials initially just sort of said, "Well, hey, this is a rumor," and dismissed it. But over 1,000 people have gathered at the site after these reports. So clearly something's going on. It's drawing people there. Now, this has not been recognized by the church, but it takes a long time for a Marian apparition to...
A bit of a process.
Yeah, there's a whole... Well, everything in the Catholic Church involves a process. I mean, we know this, right? And so Marian apparitions are no different. And there's a lengthy process that has to happen. So the diocese, it's the Diocese of Ruhengeri is investigating this, and then it would go sort of up the chain. And ultimately, it has to be recognized by the Vatican. It's not just recognized by a diocese. So there are only 18 apparitions officially recognized by the church. And that's if there are actually 1,500 reports throughout history. So it's not that common for one to be recognized. So I don't know what's going to happen with this one. I don't know a whole lot about it. But there was one other in Africa, and that's Our Lady of Kibeho. And she appeared before three girls. This was in 1981 to 1989. And she warned about the divisions among the Rwandan people. And if you follow anything in Rwandan history, bad things happened.
Yeah.
And there was a genocide in 1994. So it's possible that that's what she was warning about. And that's what a lot of people believe.
Yep.
So that apparition, remember, it happened 81 to 89, and it wasn't approved until 2001.
Yeah.
And it's the only one that was been recognized in Africa. So we'll see what happens with this one. It could take a minute.
Yeah, probably will. Now, if you followed any of the stories about Havana Syndrome, which started to pop up over the last several years, you will know that there's been a lot of question about what is actually causing those cases. Well, the Pentagon has reportedly bought a device that some suspect may have been connected to these reports. So Homeland Security Investigations, which is a division of the Department of Homeland Security, reportedly bought the device during the end of Biden's presidency for an undisclosed 8-figure price tag.
There's no decimals in there, right?
No, yeah, no.
Figures.
Yeah, they spent some money on this. Now, investigations are still ongoing, but some of the reporting that's out there explains that the device produces pulse radio waves, which have long been suspected to cause these, quote, anomalous health incidents, which is what they're called by the U.S. military and the Pentagon, that are characterized by auditory, cognitive, and memory issues, as well as head pressure and headaches, nausea, dizziness. Havana Syndrome is not a fun time.
No, and actually, I mean, it can have some really negative health outcomes. I mean, people have had some very, very severe problems. That's probably something we should dive into a little more in our medical mysteries.
Definitely. And so it's long been thought that perhaps the Russians might be behind Havana Syndrome. And we do know that in this device, there were Russian components that were found, but it's not clear whether it is, in fact, a Russian device, so to speak.
Actually, just to jump in for 1 second, why is it called Havana Syndrome?
Well, because it happened in Cuba. That's where most of this started.
Well, it's happened in a lot of different locations.
Yeah. There are reports from around the world, definitely.
Yeah, and so it's actually interesting. It's not, I just wanted to make it clear, it's not something that's specific
correct
to Cuba. And it actually, I believe it was the Havana Hotel in Cuba where it was found. But it's happened in a lot of places throughout the world. So it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, and we love a case of questionable handling of medical issues, and Havana syndrome is no different in that victims have long accused the federal government of gaslighting them and ignoring the evidence surrounding Havana syndrome. And I think this is particularly troubling just from the fact that many of these are State Department employees or people that work within the US military. So it's not just random, American citizens. These are folks that are high-level folks working as diplomats in other countries. And multiple investigations and public statements from the U.S. government have denied the possibility that a foreign adversary has been targeting U.S. officials during what was the initial rash of cases back in 2016. It's crazy to think that's been going on for 10 years. But the most recent denial came last January. So they have stuck to that line even as they have started to investigate a device that may be causing this. And I just want to pull one statement that was made to CNN by one of the victims, by Mark Polymeropoulos. And he said that if the US government has indeed uncovered such devices, then the CIA owes all the victims a effing major and public apology for how we have been treated as pariahs. So we'll keep an eye on that because I've been curious about Havana syndrome for a long time. So we'll see what comes of that investigation.
And I'm curious to see if these apologies could maybe start some apologies for Morgellons.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly.
Among many others.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little bit about these strange noises going on in Connecticut and Pennsylvania. Now, as we've mentioned before, we're in Pennsylvania. We're nowhere near these noises. I also went to school in Connecticut, so I'm really interested.
Connected to a lot of
connected to this. So I'm interested in what's going on with these noises. So in Connecticut, this is West Haven. So in West Haven, the West Haven City Council approved a $16,000 acoustic study to get to the bottom of this noise. So there, it's a hum.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one person described it as if someone were running a shop vac outside your bedroom window all night long, which sounds awful.
That sounds horrible. Yes.
Shop vacs are loud.
Mm-hmm.
Some residents have actually heard the noise for up to 4 years. I can't even imagine living somewhere where I heard a hum like that for 4 years. It's described as impacting sleep, mental health, for obvious reasons.
Yep.
So the study is going to take place over 10 days, and the city should have some sort of report in about a month. So in Bensalem, Pennsylvania, residents have recorded these very loud booms and accompanying flashes. I actually looked these up and listened to a bunch of them. And this has been going on since April of 24. If you look these up, and you really should if you're interested, they are loud. I mean, it sounds like an explosion.
Yeah.
And there is a flash of light, but there's no explosion.
Yeah.
So it's very strange. So I highly recommend watching some of these videos. But home security systems capture these things, and there's multiple videos.
Mm-hmm.
And so it shows evidence that it doesn't even come from a consistent direction.
Yeah.
And if it was coming from a consistent direction, you could say, okay, something's going on that we don't know about.
Some sort of construction or something. Right. Yeah.
But no, it's not consistent. So that's really strange.
Mm-hmm.
And so residents are still looking for answers. We'll kind of check back on that to see if anyone wants to do an investigation of that, because it is really weird.
Yeah. And our last story for you today is reporting about a statement made by a former Bank of England financial security analyst, Helen McCaw, who has urged the bank to prepare contingencies should the United States reveal the existence of extraterrestrial life.
I love this.
This is I love this. When I saw this story break, I was like, oh, we got to talk about this. Riding on the waves of age of disclosure, lots of folks are talking about what could happen if the United States government is to disclose more information. I'm kind of annoyed, I'll be honest, by the assumption that it will be the US that discloses things first. Like, I would really like some dark horse to come out of a corner of the world that we don't expect. Be like, oh yeah, we have aliens. But, that's fine. We'll take what we can get. Now, in this statement to Andrew Bailey, the governor of the Bank of England, she said, quote, "The United States government appears to be partway through a multi-year process to declassify and disclose information on the existence of a technologically advanced non-human intelligence responsible for unidentified anomalous phenomena. If the UAP proves to be of non-human origin, we may have to acknowledge the existence of a power or intelligence greater than any government and with potentially unknown intentions. UAP disclosure is likely to induce ontological shock and provoke psychological responses with material consequences. There might be extreme price volatility in financial markets due to catastrophizing or euphoria, and a collapse in confidence if market participants feel uncertain on how to price assets using any of the familiar methods.
And people are going to pull all their money out of the bank.
Yes, and this calls back to our previous episode, Three Eye Atlas and First Contact Scenarios, where we dove into possible reactions just like this to the arrival or disclosure of extraterrestrial life.
And I think it's awesome that people in England and the bank, the Bank of England, are thinking about these kinds of things. And it makes me wonder who else is. I mean, I know the US has plans for everything,
Yes.
Literally everything.
They've got a contingency for everything.
Now, that doesn't mean they always follow them. And
True.
COVID taught us that really, really clearly.
Yeah.
But the plans exist for everything. So I want to know who else has these plans. So if anyone sees some other stories like this from other corners of the world, please let us know, because we'd love to see how many countries are truly preparing for this sort of scenario.
Yes. And so we'll continue following these stories and other stories of the strange and the uncanny. This has been Headlines from the Beyond.